Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast today. I want to talk about consistency because it's really, really hard to do when you have kids. And as a parent, this is probably one of the areas that we probably don't do very well because we're tired. We've just come home from work. The baby's screaming, the phone is ringing, and we just can't be consistent at times. But just try to be. You don't have to be consistent all the time, but you have to sort of try not to send your children two messages, double messages, because they get confused. If you're going to make rules and regulations around your house and boundaries, then you have to stick to what those are. And if you're not going to do it, you have to explain to the child that this is the normal rule, but today you can stay up, or today you can play screens for more hours, or today, you can watch more television. Whatever the change is, you make sure you tell them that's what the change is. So normally we don't do this in the week, but this week we can do it. I feel that children understand that. They understand the rules there, and it's being bent, and it's been bent for various reasons. And in that way, they get to understand how it ought to be flexible, which is good to teach a child to be flexible. The consistency also comes from the point that most parents are not the same. You'll usually have one parent who's stricter and then the other. You'll usually have one parent who's what we call softer than the other one, who's maybe harder. And the child works out which is which very quickly. So if they want something, they want more pocket money, they'll go to the softie. And if they want to stay up a bit longer, they'll play one off the other. And you need to be really aware of that. I always used to say, "What did your father say?" Because they'll get one and then go and ask the other one, and then get you to be saying yes, and the other person actually said no, but you weren't told that bit of the information. If you're on your own there and it doesn't matter because the other parent isn't there, or maybe you're a single parent, then the rule like this doesn't apply. But as soon as you're in a paired parenting role, you need to get back up from the other person because they're going to get you. The consistency also helps you, and I think it's very important that you don't have too many rules. Otherwise, you've got to remember them all. Just figure out and even write it down on a piece of paper for yourself. What are the few things that you don't want to happen? You might not like them jumping on your bed because you've got glass nearby, a big mirror or something, or no kicking footballs in the house. You might have these various rules. There also might be a no hitting rule, a no spitting rule. You might have different rules. Just kind of write them down so you know what they are in your head. Minimize them if you can, because less rules make less conflict in the house, and most of the stuff really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But mostly children learn by modeling. They watch you do it, and they learn how to pack up the things and how to put the dishes away. They learn those things. So figure out what the rules are and then try and stick to them. And then both try and stick to them. Because then your child will feel more safe because they know what the house rules are. And they also know when they're trespassing over them. And then they will be more likely to take responsibility because you know that. We've talked about that in that voice you say. So what choice should you have made? And you do it like that in the disciplined way. And then you won't have to punish them. You just keep reinforcing what the rules are. And that's the thing. It's about reinforcement with children. You've got to remember that when they're little, like under 10 or 11, they don't have a huge concentration span. They just forget. They forget very quickly. You'll tell them something, and then within maybe 20 minutes or half an hour, they've forgotten to go and put the shoes on. They get distracted. They start playing with their Lego. Children don't have a long attention span, and that's also why it's important to discipline and not punish. You just reinforce it. Hey, we need to get your shoes on. Go and get your shoes. Bring them here. And that way they will not be punished, but they will actually have the rule reinforced. And get them to tell you what the rule was. So what was the rule about jumping on the bed? And they tell you. And why did we have that rule? And they tell you why. Okay, no more jumping on the bed. So whatever your rule is, and in your house you'll have all different ones, you need to keep reinforcing that, and that gives the consistency with it. As I said earlier, when you want to change the rule, for example, it's Grandma's birthday, so we're going to go to bed at 11 o'clock on a weeknight because it's a long drive there and back, you say, we're not going to put you to bed at grandma's. It's her birthday. It's a special night. You can just stay up, okay? And that way you show children how the rules can be changed to suit different things, that there are different priorities, like grandma's a priority, not the rule. And that's the important thing too, that people should always be the priority and meeting their needs, not the rule. And that's why you'll change it at times. The other thing is that if you're in a house where there's a few children, the rules will be different for different children, and you need to get very clear with the children why. For example, what a 3-year-old can do in a kitchen will not be what a 10-year-old can do in the kitchen because of safety and ability. And you just need to stick to that. So when the 3-year-old's whining because you won't let them use the toaster or put the kettle on, you explain to them the rule. When you are, and you say the age, when you are blah blah, so many years old, you can do that. But right now, you're too young and it's too dangerous. And why did mummy say that? And you get them to say, because you're going to get hurt. We don't want you to get hurt, or anyone else. So you can have the different rules for the different age groups. In some families too, some children are more, I think the word is dangerous. They get into so much more mischief. You keep an eye on them all the time, whereas others might be more placid. They're not so fearless. So you might have to instill those rules in your more naughty children, shall I say, the mischief ones, the ones who get into things, and reinforce it. Also, to help your rules, just change your house round. Do things that stop there being a dangerous situation. For example, if you're in a kitchen, make sure you have certain things even packed away that would be dangerous for a 3-year-old to get hold of. Put the knives in different places than you used to put them in. And if you change your house around and make your house more safe, then the rule will still apply, but you'll have that added insurance of the safety of the rule. And that's very, very important with children, to keep them safe. I think that children really respect the rules if they understand why. And even a small child will understand when you say that the knives will cut and hurt you. We don't want you to get hurt. The fire will burn you. And that's why you're teaching them. Children do not have to get burnt to learn the lessons. There are parents around who, they'll learn the hard way and blah, blah. I really don't agree with that. It's better to converse with a child and also keep them safe, rather than have them in a situation when they can fall off some equipment that you told them, play equipment that was too high, you just let them fall off. That's kind of that, they call it tough love, but I actually think it's ridiculous. Personally, I think you never put your child in an unsafe situation to teach them a lesson. You just teach the lesson and then you keep them safe. With your spouse or the parent of your child, if they're living with you, sit down and talk about the rules together, so you're sort of on the same page. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of things that are happening when one parent isn't there that is allowed by the other parent. And if you find out, it could make problems in your relationship. You'll probably know who's the tough one in the two parents and who's the bit of the softie. Sometimes the tough one will get tougher because they think you're too soft. And sometimes the softie will get softer because they think you're too hard, and that's quite normal. Don't worry about that. And children know who's who. They're wise. They're wise by the time they're 3. Getting to around 3, even earlier. I think the smart ones, they've figured out who's the soft touch and who's the one who's more strict. Consistency. That's what you want to do. Consistency. Less rules. And have more fun with your kids, and more talking and explaining. It doesn't matter if you have to tell them 6 times why you don't want them doing a certain thing in the house. You just keep telling them, because eventually it will get through, and then you'll find this really cute, funny thing where one sibling says to the younger one, like a parent, no, you can't do that because, and they'll explain it to you, and they might even use your actual words, sounding like a little parrot, and that can sound pretty fabulous. Love your children, give them the consistency that they also need, because then they feel safe, because they know what they can and can't do in and out the house, and what's acceptable and not acceptable. And when you stick at that, they'll feel more secure, because children really need these boundaries. They need to know where the boundary is, where the rule is, because it keeps them from feeling confused, and also they know what they can and can't do to keep themselves in and out of trouble. I feel that you can do this, but when you're tired, if you're unwell, if you're upset about something, you'll find that your consistency drops really badly, actually, sometimes. And you just explain to them, well, tonight, you can have screens for a bit longer. And you just say, but tonight we'll let you have that, or whatever the rule is. But you tell them you're bending it. But that will actually help you, particularly if you've got a migraine or something and you can't really focus and you need the children to be a little bit occupied in a safe way, not outside running around, jumping on things, jumping off things. You need them inside. So you change the rules. And also when people come over, sometimes the rule changes. Often the bedtime changes. What they can do with videos because other kids are there changes. So be flexible within the consistency, but make sure you let them know that this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. So have a lovely time with your kids. They are so fabulous and they're so much fun, aren't they? And they bring a whole new dimension into the world that we have. And I'm sending you lots of love and lots of healing.